Hello, my name is Alex. I want to tell you something that changed my whole life. I want to tell you how I learned to speak English, step by step, without any magic and without any shortcut. I am not a genius. I am not special. I am just a normal person who found 5 simple steps, and these 5 steps helped me go from a shy beginner to a confident speaker. I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you what really works. If you stay with me until the end of this video, I will show you every single step, one by one. And step number 3 is the one that changed my pronunciation completely. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The first step. Just listen and try. Hello, my name is Alex. I want to tell you about the day my English journey really began. This is my story. I want to tell you about a small conversation that changed everything for me. It is a quiet morning and I am sitting in a small cafe near my home. I am not from an English-speaking country. I speak my own language every day, with my family, with my friends, with everyone around me. But on this day, something different happens. 2 travelers walk into the cafe. They are speaking English. I don't understand every word, but I can hear that the language sounds beautiful. I feel something inside me. I want to understand what they are saying. I want to speak like them one day. I don't know many English words. I only know a few simple phrases from my school days. But I feel brave today. I decide to say something. I walk close to their table and I say, "Hello, where are you from?" The travelers smile. They say they are from Canada. They are visiting the city for a few days. I listen carefully. I don't understand every word, but I understand the important parts. I understand where they are from. I understand that they like the city. I feel proud of myself. This is the first step that every English learner must take. You don't need to know everything. You don't need perfect grammar. You only need the courage to try. Many people wait for years before they speak their first English sentence. They think they are not ready, but nobody is ever fully ready. The only way to become ready is to start. I continue talking with the travelers for a few minutes. I ask simple questions. I listen to their answers. Sometimes I don't understand a word, so I simply nod and smile. The travelers don't mind. They understand that I am a learner. They speak slowly for me. They are patient and kind. After a few minutes, the travelers must leave. Before they go, they tell me something important. They say, "Your English is better than you think. You understood most of what we said." I am surprised. I always believed my English was very weak. But today, I understand more than I expect. This small moment gives me great courage. This is a common experience for many learners. When you finally use the language in real life, you discover that you already know more than you believe. Your brain has been collecting words and sounds for a long time, even without you noticing. The moment you try to speak, this hidden knowledge suddenly appears. After the travelers leave, I sit quietly, and I think about what just happened. I realize that listening alone is not enough. I must also try to speak, even with mistakes, even with a small vocabulary. This is how real progress begins. From that day, I decide to change my habits. I decide to listen to English conversations whenever I can. I listen to people in the street, in shops, and in videos online. I don't try to understand every single word, I only try to catch the meaning. Slowly, my ears become used to the sound of English. I also promise myself something important. Every time I have a chance to speak English, even one small sentence, I will take that chance. I will not wait for perfect knowledge. I will not wait for perfect confidence. I know now that speaking comes first, and confidence comes later. This is the true beginning of every learner's journey. Before grammar, before big vocabulary, before perfect pronunciation, there must be one simple decision. The decision to listen without fear and to speak without waiting. When you want to start speaking English, listen with attention and speak without waiting. Chapter 2. The second step. Feed your brain with words. After my conversation with the travelers, I go home and I think about what happened. I understood more English than I expected, but I also know that I need more words if I want to speak well. I have courage now, but I don't have enough material to build real sentences. I decide that I need to find a way to learn new words, and I need a way that I can enjoy. The next day, I go to my cousin's house. My cousin has been learning English for 2 years and her speaking is quite good. I ask her, "How did you learn so many words? What is your secret?" She smiles and she says, "I don't have a secret. I only read every day." I am surprised by her answer. I always believed that learning words means making long lists and memorizing them every night. But my cousin tells me something different. She says, "When I read, I don't try to memorize anything. I only try to enjoy the story. When I see a word I don't know, I look it up in a dictionary and then I continue reading. I don't write it down. I don't test myself later. I only continue enjoying the book." She also tells me something important. She says, "It is very important that the book is interesting for you. If the story is boring, you will not want to read it every day. Choose something you love. Maybe a simple story. Maybe an article about your favorite hobby. Also, choose a text where you already know most of the words. If there are too many new words, you will feel frustrated and you will stop reading." I think about this advice for a while. I like football very much, so I decide to find simple English articles about football. I search on the internet and I find a website with short football stories written in simple English. I feel excited because this is something I truly enjoy. That evening, I sit down and I start reading my first article. In the beginning, it feels a little difficult. There are words I don't know, but I remember my cousin's advice. I don't stop to memorize anything. I only look up the word quickly and then I continue reading. Slowly, the story becomes clear to me and I start to enjoy it. After 30 minutes, I finish the article. I feel proud of myself. I learned several new words, but more importantly, I understood a real English story from beginning to end. I decide that I will do this every single day for at least 30 minutes. Days pass and I continue reading every evening. Sometimes I read football articles, sometimes I read simple short stories, sometimes I read about music, because I also love music. Each time I choose something that interests me. Each time I look up new words without stopping to memorize them. After 2 weeks, I notice something wonderful. When I meet English speakers again, I have more words available in my mind. I don't search for words as much as before. They come to me naturally because I have seen them many times while reading. My cousin was right. Reading gives words to your brain without forcing them in. There is another benefit that I discover. When I read, I don't only learn new words, I also learn how these words connect with other words in a sentence. I see how sentences are built. I see the natural order of words. This helps me later when I try to speak because my sentences start to sound more natural without me even studying grammar rules. I understand now that listening alone was not enough, and speaking alone was not enough either. I needed to feed my brain with new words continuously, and reading became the perfect way to do this, because I could enjoy it every single day without feeling tired or bored. From this point, my daily routine becomes simple. I listen to English whenever I can. I try to speak whenever there is a chance, and I read for 30 minutes every evening. Each habit supports the other, and together they start building something powerful inside me. When you want to learn new words effectively, read something you enjoy every single day. Chapter 3. The third step. Copy the sound. One evening after finishing my reading, I decide to record myself speaking a few sentences. I want to hear how my English sounds. When I listen to the recording, I feel a little disappointed. My words are correct, but my pronunciation sounds strange. It does not sound like the travelers I met in the cafe. It does not sound like the football commentators in the articles I read online. I go to my cousin again the next day, and I ask her, "My words are correct, but my pronunciation is not good. What can I do to fix it?" She thinks for a moment, and then she tells me about a technique she used when she was a beginner. She calls it shadowing. She explains, "When we speak, we use the muscles of our mouth. We have used these muscles our whole life for our own language. When we try to speak English, sometimes we use these muscles in the same old way, and this makes our pronunciation sound different from native speakers. This happens to almost everyone who learns a new language. It is not a big problem because people can usually understand you, but if you want better pronunciation, there is a simple solution." She continues, "The technique is called shadowing. You find a short audio or video in English, something that is not too fast, something you understand well. You listen to a sentence, and immediately after hearing it, you try to copy the sound exactly. You copy the rhythm. You copy the speed. You copy the way the words connect together. You do this again and again with the same short recording until your mouth becomes used to producing these new sounds." I ask her, "Is this really effective?" She smiles and she says, "Think about small children. When children learn their first language, they copy their parents again and again until their pronunciation becomes perfect. You can use the same method for English. Your mouth simply needs practice moving in a new way." That evening, I decide to try this technique. I choose a short video of a football interview because the speaker talks clearly and not too fast. I watch a short part of the video first, and then I try to copy exactly what I hear, right after hearing it. In the beginning, it feels strange. My mouth moves in unfamiliar ways. I make many mistakes, and sometimes I cannot copy the sound correctly at all. But I continue practicing the same short clip, again and again. After about 10 minutes, something interesting happens. My pronunciation starts to feel closer to the speaker in the video. My mouth is slowly learning new movements. I feel proud of this small progress. I decide to do this every day for about 10 to 15 minutes. I choose different short clips, sometimes interviews, sometimes simple conversations, sometimes short parts of movies. Each time I listen carefully first, and then I copy the sound immediately, again and again, until it feels natural. After 2 weeks of practicing shadowing, I notice a real difference. When I speak with people, my pronunciation feels smoother. I don't need to think as hard about how to produce each sound. My mouth remembers the movements from my daily practice. People even tell me that my English is becoming easier to understand. I also discover another benefit of shadowing. Before an important conversation or a presentation, I can do a quick session of shadowing to warm up my mouth muscles. When I do this, my speaking feels more fluent and more confident during the real conversation because my mouth is already prepared to produce clear English sounds. I realize now that listening built my understanding, reading built my vocabulary, and shadowing is building my pronunciation. Each new habit connects with the ones before it, and together they are shaping a stronger and more confident speaker inside me. When you want to have good pronunciation, copy native speakers immediately after you hear them. Chapter 4. The fourth step. Talk to yourself. A few weeks pass and my English continues to improve. I listen every day, I read every evening, and I practice shadowing whenever I can. One afternoon, my cousin invites a friend to her house. Her friend's name is Sarah, and she has been living in an English-speaking country for 1 year. When Sarah starts speaking English, I am amazed. Her sentences flow smoothly, without long pauses, without hesitation. She sounds relaxed, as if English is almost as easy for her as her own language. I ask her, "How did you become so fluent in only 1 year? Did you study every day at a school?" Sarah smiles and she says, "I did go to classes, but the biggest change in my speaking came from something different. I started talking to myself in English." I am confused, so I ask her to explain more. She says, "At first, I only listened and read, just like you are doing now. But I noticed that when I actually needed to speak, my mind still worked in my own language first, and then I had to translate everything into English. This made me slow and unsure." She continues, "One day, I decided to try something new. Instead of thinking in my own language all day, I started thinking small, simple sentences in English, and I said them aloud when I was alone, maybe while walking or while doing housework. For example, I would say, 'I am tired today. I need to rest. I want to drink some tea.' Very simple sentences, nothing complicated." I ask her, "Did it feel strange to talk to yourself?" She laughs and she says, "Yes, at the beginning it felt very strange. I even felt a little embarrassed, even though nobody was listening. But I had strong motivation to improve, so I continued doing it every day." She tells me more about her experience. "In the beginning, my sentences were very short and simple because I could not think in long, complicated sentences yet. Slowly, my simple sentences became a little longer. I practice this almost every day, sometimes for only 5 minutes, sometimes for 15 minutes. Then she tells me something important. One day, I met a tourist who needed directions. Without thinking too much, I spoke to him in English, and my words came out smoothly. I did not need to translate in my head from my own language. My mouth and my mind were already used to producing English sentences because I had practiced this many times while talking to myself." I find this story very inspiring. I decide that I want to try this technique too. That same evening, while I am cleaning my room, I start saying simple sentences aloud in English. I say things like, "I am cleaning my room. I want to finish quickly. Then I will read my book." My English is improving every day. In the beginning, it feels a little awkward for me too, just as Sarah described. But I remind myself why I am doing this, and I continue speaking simple sentences aloud, day after day. Slowly, I notice that thinking in English is becoming a little more natural for me. After a few weeks of practicing this new habit, something wonderful happens. When my cousin's foreign classmate visits and starts a conversation with me in English, I do not feel the usual pause before speaking. My sentences come out more quickly, because I have already said similar sentences many times while talking to myself alone. I understand now why Sarah called this technique so powerful. Listening gave me understanding, reading gave me vocabulary, shadowing gave me pronunciation, and now, talking to myself is giving me true fluency. Each step builds on the one before it, and together they are transforming me into a real English speaker. When you want to speak English fluently, think in English and say your thoughts aloud. Chapter 5. The fifth step. Let grammar come by itself. Weeks pass, and I continue my daily habits. I listen carefully. I read every evening. I practice shadowing. And I talk to myself whenever I have a free moment. My English feels stronger every day, but one small worry still stays in my mind. I worry about my grammar. One Saturday, I meet Sarah again at my cousin's house. I decide to ask her about this worry. I say, Sarah, my speaking is improving, but sometimes I am not sure if my grammar is correct. Should I start studying grammar books now? Sarah thinks for a moment and then she says, that is a very good question. Let me ask you something first. Do you want to speak English fluently in daily life, or do you need English for an important exam? I tell her that I only want to speak well. I don't need to pass any exam right now. Sarah smiles and she says, then I have good news for you. If you only want to speak, you don't need to study grammar rules very much. Think about how you learned your own language as a child. You didn't study grammar books. You learned grammar naturally, by listening and speaking every day. You can learn English grammar the same way. She continues, the habits you are already doing are perfect for this. When you read every day, you are seeing correct grammar in every sentence, even though you are not studying it directly. Your brain slowly absorbs the patterns, the word order, and the correct forms, simply because you see them again and again in real sentences. She also tells me, shadowing helps with grammar too. When you copy sentences from native speakers, you are also copying their correct grammar. You are training your mouth and your mind together without opening a single grammar textbook. I ask her, but what if I make a mistake and I never notice it? Sarah says, that can happen sometimes, but it is not a big problem. When people understand what you are saying, that is already a success. Over time, as you read and listen more, you will notice your own mistakes and you will correct them naturally because you will hear the correct form so many times. She also gives me one more piece of advice. She says, if you ever feel confused about a specific grammar point, you can search for it online and read a short, simple explanation with examples. This is different from studying grammar as your main method. This is only checking one small point when you feel unsure, and then going back to reading, listening, and speaking. I feel relieved after hearing this. I always believed that grammar needed years of serious study, with thick books and long lists of rules. But now I understand that grammar can grow naturally, quietly, in the background, while I focus on activities I actually enjoy. That evening, I think about my whole journey so far. It started with one small conversation in a cafe, where I found the courage to try speaking, even with very few words. Then I discovered the power of reading, and my vocabulary began growing every single day. After that, shadowing helped me fix my pronunciation, making my English sound clearer and more natural. Then, talking to myself gave me true fluency, allowing my thoughts to become English sentences without long pauses or translation. And now, I understand that grammar has been growing quietly inside me this whole time, through every book I read and every sentence I copied. I realized that learning English was never about one single big method. It was about 5 small steps, repeated every day, supporting each other like pieces of one puzzle. Listening opened the door, reading filled my mind with words, shadowing shaped my pronunciation, thinking aloud built my fluency, and grammar simply arrived on its own, as a natural result of everything else. I feel proud of how far I have come, and I know that if I continue these simple habits, my English will keep growing stronger every single day. When you want to have good grammar, let it grow naturally through reading, listening, and speaking. Remember, learning to speak English is not one big jump. It is 5 small steps, done again and again, every single day. Pick one step from this video and start practicing it today, even for just 10 minutes. If this video helped you understand your own English journey a little better, please subscribe to my channel for more simple English lessons like this one. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and write a comment below telling me which step you will start with first. I read every comment and I would love to know where your English journey begins. See you in the next video.